Hello, this is Left Turn Productions, and today NASCAR revealed their 2020 schedule. And there's some good, some bad in the schedule. My feelings on it are mixed, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about what I would do if I were in charge of the NASCAR schedule. If I could choose every track on the schedule in order, what would I do? Now, there's a couple rules to this, is that I can't change the weekends that they're on. I can't change that. And that's really it. That's all I can't change. That's the only thing that I can't change. Everything else is fair game. If I want to move a race from Sunday to Saturday, go ahead, do that. If I want to move it from Saturday to Sunday, go ahead and do that. Some of this comes from the 2019 schedule, some of it comes from the 2020 schedule, but some of it is my own input. So I feel like there's a good mix of everything there. I've also added a couple of new tracks in there and taken a couple tracks off. Well, I haven't taken any tracks off. Each track that's on the schedule now still has at least one race. I have removed some second races from certain tracks, though. Let's get this started. I've covered up all the names, and we're going to reveal them dramatically. But you know what? This first one doesn't need a dramatic reveal. It's Daytona. Obviously, Daytona is going to be the first race. I want to keep it that way. I like it that way. That's how I've always known it, and I wouldn't want it any other way. It's perfect for building up hype for the NASCAR season. But yeah, let's just move on to the second one here. And the second one is going to kick off the West Coast swing, and it is Las Vegas. Now, this comes from the 2020 schedule. They moved the West Coast swing up a week, and I like that. They could move right into the West Coast swing, because, let's be honest here, Atlanta was kind of awkward being into the second race when it's bordered before it by the Daytona 500, and then after it by the 3-race West Coast swing. I like moving the West Coast swing up, so I move the West Coast swing up as well in my schedule. And you could probably figure out the next 2 races from that. Fontana as the 3rd race, just like in the 2020 schedule. I like where it's at now. And the 4th one's changed a little bit, but it's still ISM, but I feel like it should be a night race. And here's my reasoning. There are no night races. Actually, no. Out of the first 10 races, there's only one night race, and that's Richmond. I feel like there should be a second. It feels kind of barren there. It's weird not having a night race there. And I feel like ISM under the lights is a great idea. The trucks did it and it turned out well. I think IndyCar did it. So yeah, I feel like the Cup Series can do it. That's the 4th race to schedule. Now the 5th race is the first major change that I'm going to make. And it is adding a 4th race to the West Coast swing. That being Sonoma. You're probably thinking, Left Turn, you're crazy. Sonoma should be in June, always. Well, there's a couple of reasons why I'm adding Sonoma here. First of all, as a road course. There are no road courses in the first 10 races. I feel like there should be some more variety in the first 10 races, because this is where new fans are going to most likely join in after the Daytona 500. If you keep that West Coast swing going for an extra week, you could add a road course in there, and it will be their first road course race. So, having Sonoma as the first road course race all the way down into race number 16, it's kind of awkward. It takes so long for there to be a road course race in NASCAR. Even if you include all 3 series, Road America, I think. Oh wait, no, they moved all the road courses into August. Except for Sonoma. Sonoma is just being there all on its own, and it's really, really weird that it takes that long for there to be a road course race. I feel like Sonoma should be moved up to 5, to the 5th race of the season. And you're probably also wondering, why did I choose to move Sonoma up instead of Watkins Glen, or maybe add a new road course like Portland, or Circuit of the Americas, or something like that. Or maybe Montreal if you really want to get there, or Canadian Tire, or really anything other than moving Sonoma up. Have you noticed how dry Sonoma is? Seriously, the race in June, I have not seen a single blade of green grass. And I have watched that Sonoma race since, I think the first Sonoma race I watched was the one that Kyle Busch won. Was that 2008? I think it was, I want to say it was 2008. And then I also remember the one that Jimmy Johnson won, mainly because Robbie Gordon finished second, and it was really weird. But yeah, ever since 2008, 2009, 2010 that I've been watching the Sonoma race, I haven't seen a single blade of green grass. Moving it to March would change. It would just be a much more inviting track to look at instead of being dry and, beige everywhere and weird shades of orange and yellow and just dried up dead grass. It's not really good to look at. I know it's kind of iconic at this point, but really it's just really dry and I don't like it. But yeah, that would be the 5th race of the season. So now moving on to the next one. Oops. Nope, right here. Race number 6 of the season is Atlanta. Atlanta in the 2020 schedule is the 6th race of the... no, it's the 5th race of the season. I'm moving it back another just because Sonoma. I already moved Sonoma up there in the West Coast swing, so I think Atlanta should be the next track after. I still think Atlanta should be an early season race. It's pretty fitting, honestly. So I kept it there in the 6th race of the season. So yeah, I only moved it down one weekend. So yeah, now we got the next race, race number 7, I believe, and it's at Texas. So yeah, Texas. It's been the 7th race of the season for quite a while. I like where it's at. It's in a good spot. Moving on. There's really nothing else to say. And then race number 8 should also come as no surprise because it is Bristol. Again, I like where the first Bristol race is. I like it. It's in a good spot. Once again, first short track, a little late. Well, unless you count ISM as a short track. Let's be honest, it kind of is. But Bristol, always fun. Should always have 2 races. And yeah, I like where it is now. So now we move on to race number 9, and it is the Richmond Night Race. Keep the Richmond Night Race exactly where it is. It's in a good spot. Much like most of the ones here in this stretch. You're probably thinking that I'm just reciting the 2020 schedule at this point, and this isn't really going to help. Race number 10, Talladega. Again, I like where it's at. It's in a perfect spot. Don't fix what isn't broken. Moving on. Race number 11, I think... no, I didn't. I did. This is the next one that I kind of made a change on. It's Kansas Night. And it was like this, I think in 2014 it was like this. When they ran the first Kansas Night race, and I liked where it was in the schedule then, but I think they moved it to Memorial Day weekend in the 2020 schedule. I don't like that. Why is Kansas on Memorial Day? This isn't right. This is wrong. Move Kansas back to where it was before, please. But yeah, that was one of the things that I didn't like about the 2020 NASCAR schedule. Anyway, moving on to race number 12. And it is another, well, not a change if you're going by the 2020 schedule. Martinsville Night. Martinsville Night on Mother's Day, guys. I'm excited. This is a good change. This is my favorite part of the schedule. The favorite part of the 2020 schedule, that they moved it to... They made the first Martinsville race a night race, and then moved it to Mother's Day. This is a great idea. Absolutely great idea. I'm keeping this. I love this. Thank you, NASCAR. This was a great idea. Martinsville Night is the best thing. It's the best. Anyway, after that little freak out there, we move on to the 13th race of the season. And it's at Rockingham, so this is a new track. Well, not technically new. NASCAR has been racing on it for a while, but recently they haven't really run on it. I think it's been 15 years since the last Cup race here. They should come back, man. I think they're trying to get it back, or Rockingham's trying to get back on the schedule, but whatever happened to trucks racing at Rockingham? I know they did that for a couple of years, but why'd they stop? Really weird. I moved it to May 17th, right in the middle of May. I feel like it's a good spot for it to go on, especially considering it's kind of a new... It'll be a return to form, and I don't think I should jump it right into the chase. I think Rockingham's good in this section of the schedule. So then, after this is the, 14th race? Oops. Oh wait, this is the All-Star race, never mind. This is actually the All-Star race on this weekend. I remember in my previous take I had to add this one in just to explain why I moved the date for Rockingham, because I swapped it with the All-Star race. This was the weekend that the Coke 600 was on, apparently. Again, I don't like that. I don't like that they moved the Coke 600 out of Memorial Day. I don't know if they did that to the Indy 500 too, but if they did it to the Indy 500 too, I highly doubt they did. But really, bad idea. Bad idea. Indy 500 and Coke 600 should be on the same day and should be on Memorial Day weekend. It's been the trend ever since the 60s. Don't change it, please. I just went off on a tangent. So you could probably guess what the next race on the schedule is. Technically the 14th race. Yeah. Charlotte Night, the Coke 600. Moving on is race 15, and this one is at Michigan. I like where the Michigan race is now. It's in a pretty good spot. Don't really need to move it around a whole lot. This is the 15th race this season, yeah. 15th race. And then we're moving on to the 16th race of the season, and it is at Chicagoland. So technically, this is replacing. This isn't really replacing Sonoma's date. This is, I think, the Father's Day weekend. I think Chicagoland would be a fine race to run. Last year's Chicagoland race was perfect. It was a great race. I feel like moving it here would do it good. Let's get it more attention here on Father's Day weekend. Not quite as spectacular as the Mother's Day Martinsville night race, but I tried. So yeah, and now we're moving to the 17th race of the season, and by this point you're probably asking, did you add a new road course to replace Sonoma? Because I really feel like that you added a new road course to replace Sonoma, and if you guessed that I added a new road course to replace Sonoma, then you'd be right, because I added Portland. Nope, stop. I know what you're probably thinking immediately. Left turn, you only added this to the list because you live in the Pacific Northwest and you want a NASCAR date on the schedule. And yes, while I admit that is part of it, because I can't help myself, there are a couple of other logical reasons why I added Portland to the schedule. Number one, there are no NASCAR tracks in the Pacific Northwest. Even if I didn't live in the Pacific Northwest, that would still be a problem, because there's a whole audience of people over there, specifically in Washington and Oregon, that would love to go to a NASCAR race. I was at the Portland IndyCar race, and the stands were absolutely packed. There were people everywhere. I mean, come on, they hadn't really seen a major really anything racing event in 11 years. That's a long time. You're stuck watching short track races and stuff, but I mean, while short track races are great, it just doesn't have the same big experience as an IndyCar race or a NASCAR race. And since IndyCar moved there, that's the right direction to go in. I feel like NASCAR should do the same and add a new road course to their schedule. And it should replace the Sonoma weekend. Also, this is something that I didn't notice until now, and I swear it didn't impact where I put Portland, but I just realized if Portland were here, I would start my summer vacation with a NASCAR race and end it with an IndyCar race, because the IndyCar race is in September, in the beginning of September. I just now realized that. Oops, what a funny coincidence. Again, I swear that didn't impact where it was on the list. So anyway, Portland as the 17th race. So now we move on to the next weekend, which is the 18th and 19th race of the schedule. Yep, the Pocono doubleheader. I'm keeping that. That's a interesting idea. Not quite sure how that'll turn out, but I didn't like that the Pocono races were so close together. But I mean, if you smush them together, that strangely solves the problem. It's like, you complained that they were too close together? Well, here we go. We're smushing them together now. Now they're even closer together. And strangely enough, I think that fixed the issue. I know. Who knew that bringing them closer together would solve the problem of them being too close? It's kind of weird how that works. But yeah, I like the Pocono doubleheader. If the two races are like both 200-mile races, if it's like that. I thought the Pocono race always dragged when it was 500 miles, and even currently when it's at 400, I still feel like it drags. Having just a big Pocono doubleheader is a great idea. And I think that's the 18th and 19th races of the schedule. Now we move on to race number 20. And this is, I'm going to go off on a little tangent for this one. Daytona Night as race number 20. Come on, guys. Having it on the 4th of July weekend. You'd think that this would be a given. You'd think that this would be a given, right? You'd think that this would not be a big change at all. But now we come to the biggest problem with the 2020 schedule. They moved Daytona to the last race of the regular season. I know why they did this. To drum up hype. First of all, before we get too serious, imagine if Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in a must-win situation in that Daytona race. Oh boy. But yeah, aside from that one aspect of it being a disaster, I saw on the Icebergs video that they plopped the Daytona race right in the middle of hurricane season. Whose idea was that? I mean, I don't think that they looked at that aspect, but I'm kind of worried about that Daytona race now. It's not in a very good spot, really. And again, the tradition of the Firecracker 400 and having it on the 4th of July just ruined. I hate that so much. And they decided to move Indianapolis to July 4th. I really don't know why. First of all, it's just a month after the Indy 500. I don't really think that any NASCAR race at Indy should be that close to the Indianapolis 500. Just give it another month at least. But second, it was scalding hot at Indy when they did the race in July. Or in the end of July. So they decided to move to September. And it was much cooler, and it was nicer. But then they move it back to July again? What? I won't understand that. I do kind of understand the Indianapolis and Daytona swap. I will never approve of it, though. It's a horrible, horrible idea. But yeah. Put the Firecracker 400 back as the 20th race of the season. Well, I mean, it wasn't the 20th race. Put it back on that weekend. Please. Anyway, that tangent's over now. Moving to race number 21. It's Kentucky. Kentucky night race. This is where it was in the 2020 schedule. I don't really have any particular opinion where Kentucky should be on the schedule. So, having Kentucky there, it's fine. It's a fine spot for it to be in. It's where it was before. So, yeah. It's just moved a little further down because of a few factors. Yeah, 22nd race of the season is Loudon. Again, really don't have an opinion. I don't like Loudon. I don't really like the racing at Loudon, but I feel like there should be a race in the in New England. There really should be. Watkins Glen doesn't really count because it's not really in New England. Having Loudon there is good for the New England fans because I'd be hypocritical if I wanted Loudon off the schedule, but I wanted Portland on, because if Portland doesn't generate the best racing, I would still keep it on the schedule because of the Pacific Northwest fans. Well, I feel like the Northeast fans should get their share for Loudon. So, Loudon stays on the schedule for me, even though I hate it and it's my least favorite track of all the ones that they're currently running on. But yeah, Loudon, a 22nd race of the season. Now we move on to the 23rd race of the season, which is none other than Watkins Glen. Not the final road course, the third road course of the season. Alright. Watkins Glen is good where it is. And also notice that there's a 2-week gap. I didn't change that because I understand the Olympics thing. It's going to be a grueling 2 weeks for me. But I understand it. And so I didn't tinker with the dates there. But yeah, Watkins Glen there. August 9th, it's in a good spot. I wouldn't change it. Don't fix what isn't broken, like I said. So now we're starting to get close to the chase here, and race number 24 is the Richmond Night Race. So you're probably thinking, hey, come on, that race was in the Chase. They just moved it into the Chase in 2018. Why did you move it out of the Chase? And the reason why is because I just generally don't think Richmond generates as good of racing. You guys can go ahead and call me out all you want, but honestly, out of the short tracks, not counting ISM or Dover, it generates the least exciting racing. Albeit, there have been some pretty good Richmond races, but it's just kind of for me. I moved it up the schedule there. And it's also kind of an unlucky victim because of a few other circumstances regarding the Chase races. So, yeah, it's just kind of the odd one. Well, not really the odd one out in the Chase. It was just kind of the one that I liked the least in the Chase. But again, all of this is my personal opinion. You guys could have completely different schedules than me. This is just my opinion. I feel like Richmond might move up to August. Also, we don't really have very many short track races in summer, so I think having Richmond there too, and also kind of replacing where the Bristol night race was. And we will get to that in a little bit. So now the 25th race of the season, and it is, hold on. Oh, okay, yeah. It's at Dover. Yes, only one Dover race on my version of the schedule, and this is because I simply don't think Dover provides very good racing. Except for that one race in 2016 that Matt Kenseth won. That was a good race. But every other race that I've seen at Dover has just been kind of boring. Oh yeah, there was also the 2017 race, but that one was just kind of weird. Not interesting for not ways that I would say is kind of good racing. Just Dover's just kind of been an track from the start for me. It's just not very interesting, but I feel like it should remain on the schedule anyway. And this is where it is on the this is where the second Dover race is on the 2020 schedule, and I do feel like it belongs there. And again, this is another race that's been kicked out of the Chase. And finally, what did I make as the regular season finale, you might ask? Well, curious viewer, it's Indianapolis. It's Indianapolis. Why did they move Indianapolis? Why did they move Indianapolis back up to 4th of July, guys? Brickyard 400. I like where it is now. I like it being the regular season finale. It adds a bit of drama to an otherwise really dry Indianapolis race. I know it didn't really bring back people in the seats, but let's be honest here, guys. Indianapolis has huge seating capacity, so the seats are kind of deceiving because Indianapolis can hold so many more people than any other NASCAR track. So the seats kind of look empty. I know there aren't a whole lot of people going to NASCAR races in Indianapolis, but again, it could be because the seating is kind of deceiving because there's so many more seats. But yeah, I feel like NASCAR in Indianapolis should stay, even though it's another track that kind of delivers racing. And I feel like it's in a good spot because it's not too hot there at Indy. Oh, I just realized it's August 30th there. Well, I mean, this is roughly where it was last time, so yeah. Anyway, now we're starting to get into the good stuff. What did I choose as my 10 Chase races? You might have been able to figure out some of them by now, but we'll see what happens here. So, race number 1 of the Challenger round. Oh, excuse me. That's the old name. Of the round of 16. Jeez, I like the old names better. Am I the only one that liked the old names better? Probably. Darlington. The Southern 500 as the first race in the Chase. Now, this is coming from the 2020 schedule, and I do like that Darlington's in the Chase now. It adds even more to the Darlington race. I don't know how the throwbacks are going to work, though. That's going to be kind of weird, but we'll see. With all the Chase banners and stuff. It'll be interesting to see. The throwback paint schemes obviously keep that tradition. I love it. And it's still on Labor Day. So this one was more of a tradition. This one's more of a traditional thing, and I feel like that's why it's still there in the 2020 schedule. But I feel like the chase banners are gonna be in the way. But I don't really think that's. I don't really think that is a major problem. But yeah, moving on to the second one. The second race of the round of 16 is Michigan. The reason why I put Michigan in here is simply because there are no 2-mile tracks in the chase. That's the only reason why it's in here. I feel like there should be variety when it comes to the chase. And no, I'm not going to call it the playoffs. If you guys are wondering, I'm calling it the chase. I will always call it the chase. I'm never calling it the playoffs because they're not playing, they're racing. But yeah, anyway. Michigan in the chase. I kind of like that idea. I think when they had Fontana in the chase, it was kind of but I feel like Michigan would be at home in the chase. I feel like there should be a variety of tracks in the chase. Just going for more variety because it is the chase, after all. It's coming down to this. After all you've done through the season, all the different types of tracks, this should be the 10 races that proves your mastery of the NASCAR season. And I feel like that's why Michigan should be in here, because the 2-mile tracks are completely overlooked there. Also, the other reason is because the two Michigan races are too close together. I think one's in June and the other's in the tail end of July. I don't like that. They're too close. It's like the Pocono races again. Except I don't really want to squish the Michigan races together this time. I want to keep them spread out. But yeah, so now the third race of the season, or not the third race of the season, the third race of the round of 16. What did I choose? Should have said what NASCAR chose. Bristol Night Race as the cutoff race for the round of 16. I like this idea. I like the idea of Bristol Night being the cutoff for round of 16. Man, that race is going to be nuts. That is going to be one chaotic race, and I can't wait. So I'm keeping it on the schedule, much like how I kept Martinsville where it was. So yeah, this is another aspect of the 2020 schedule that I like. So yeah. Now we're moving into the round of 12. What did I choose as the first race of the round of 12? Las Vegas. I chose Las Vegas. Simply because the chase race at Las Vegas last year was actually really good. So I kind of have some promise for Las Vegas staying in the chase. Plus, since a lot of the tracks up here are 1.5 miles, I feel like there should be more than just 1.5 miles in here, or more than 2 or something. Even though I cut out a lot of the 1.5 miles, honestly, spoilers. I feel like there should still be a couple in there. Also, I feel like the first race of each round should be just kind of a getting into it kind of race. Yeah, anyway. What did I put as the second race of the round of 12? Talladega. Unchanged from previous years. I really don't think Talladega should be the elimination race. I know a lot of people also didn't want that, but I know some people that do want Talladega as the cutoff race. I don't, because it's going to be an absolute disaster. But you might call me a hypocrite after you see what the third race of the round of 12 is for me. It's the Charlotte Roval. Now, here's the thing. Charlotte Roval was a different kind of chaotic than Talladega. A chaotic that's kind of more controlled, I think, than Talladega. And that's a kind of chaos that I like better. And I feel like would better fit an elimination race. Just like the Bristol Night Race. Just like where the Bristol Night Race is, this is kind of factoring into that as well. I feel like the kind of controlled chaos that the Charlotte Roval had last year would be very good for elimination races, so I think it should stay where it is. And by the way, this is where it is in the 2020 schedule. So we're down to the last 4 races. What did I choose as the first race of the round of 8? It's Texas. It's Texas. Guys, aren't you excited? Yeah, I know. Maybe the schedule still needs a little bit more work, but honestly, Texas having 2 dates is kind of. I feel like it's good. Unfortunately, they kind of turned Texas to crap with the new turns 1 and 2, but I still feel like Texas should have 2 dates. I don't know. Something inside me is just saying put Texas here. But spoilers, what this means is that Kansas has been reverted back to only having 1 race. So yeah, I put Texas here because Texas in the chase has kind of been a tradition at this point. And one could argue that Kansas was too, actually. Now that I think about it, I probably should have put Kansas here instead of Texas. Well, I mean, Texas is kind of a hot spot for NASCAR, and Kansas is kind of more out in the middle of nowhere. There's some reasons in there. I just can't find them. Again, call me out in the comments if you don't agree with this. Me removing the second Kansas race. Go ahead, just call me out in the comments. Anyway, second race of the round of 8. What is it going to be? And it's ISM, which means yes, in my version of the schedule, ISM is not the final race. Some of you might have already figured out what the final race is by now, actually, and if it is, and if you're one of them, yeah, good for you. I feel like ISM should still be in the chase because ISM's not a bad track. I know I might sound crazy. A lot of people think ISM is terrible, but I like ISM, kind of. I feel like it's an alright track. I feel like it gets a lot of unnecessary hate. What they've been doing with the reconfiguration has been a great thing. ISM is a lot more entertaining now. It's a really wacky track, and I feel like it should have its home in the chase. So now, the final race of the round of 8, the race that decides the championship 4. What do I think it is? The Martinsville Night Race. The other one. You know, the one they've been doing for the last couple years. This is another thing that is coming from the 2020 schedule. I like this move again. Martinsville Night, best thing ever. Good job, guys. I love this. I want this on my schedule. Moving on. So now, the final race of the schedule. Now, if you want to add entirely my personal opinion, I feel like the final race... I've always done this with my series, how the final race has been randomly determined. But I feel like this wouldn't really work in NASCAR. It's an interesting concept, but again, I don't think this would work because, money and stuff. So yeah, what did I choose as the finale? What could be better than Homestead Miami? Well, I'm glad that you asked because, oops, I ruined the moment. Oops, I made a mistake. The only track that could be better as the finale than Miami is Miami. Come on, guys, what else did you expect? You probably noticed that Miami was missing from the list for a while. And probably already figured that I had put it at the bottom. And plus, I spoiled the intense moment anyway, which really wasn't an intense moment because if people had really been paying attention, they probably would have noticed that. So here's another issue that I had with the 2020 schedule. They moved ISM to the final race, and they knocked Miami all the way up to race 6. And I don't like this. I feel like Miami is a very special track. It's the perfect track to end the season on. ISM is more of a kind of wacky and weird track with the whole backstretch finish line ordeal. I feel like Miami is a perfect track, the perfect track to end the season on. I really couldn't imagine any other track ending the season. Miami is the perfect ending to the season, and they ruined it in the 2020 season schedule. And I don't like that again. But yeah, anyway, I think that's going to conclude this video. I would put Miami back as the final race. But yeah. Let's see. What did you guys think? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Tell me in the comments. This was more on the long side of videos. Let's see. Oh my goodness, 35 minutes. Jeez. Anyway, yeah, this was more on the long side of my videos. Yeah, and thanks for watching. This is Left Turn Productions, signing out.